Vaughan, and I'm a freelance writer based in Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been coming to Wonderfest, like all of you, for many, many years, and one of my favorite aspects of this convention is the gentleman to my left. And if you don't know who he is, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Bill Stout is known primarily, I think, as a, quote, dinosaur artist, and one of the best in the business, certainly. But there are other aspects of the Bill's career that a lot of people may not be that familiar with. And one aspect that I found particularly intriguing was his work in Hollywood. He has worked on a tremendous number of very important motion pictures over the years. Just real quick rundown of just some of the films on which he's worked include Galaxy of Terror, The Mist, The Prestige, Pan's Labyrinth, The Ant Bully, Dinosaur, Men in Black, Jurassic Park, Leviathan, Predator, Invaders from Mars, Ren Sonja, and Return of the Living Dead, which is one of my personal favorites. I've had the opportunity to interview Bill a couple of times for magazines like Film Facts and Videoscope, and learned quite a bit about Bill's career, and that's why I asked the convention to give us an hour to talk about his work in Hollywood. And so, Bill, I want to begin by asking you to talk very briefly about how you broke into your Hollywood experience. How did that happen?
Well, I was doing motion picture advertising, and I worked on the ad campaigns for about 120 films. But that business is completely separate from movie making. They never intersect. And in fact, it's funny, I've worked on 45 features with my background, but those two worlds just never meet. So I was at the height of my movie poster work. I remember it was like August, maybe '79. I looked in the Los Angeles Times entertainment section, and I had 8 posters in there that one week. It was just sheer coincidence, but it's like, but that's just an indication of how busy I was. And a friend of mine, Bob Greenberg, very old friend, was working as a production assistant on Conan the Barbarian. And I was talking to Bob, and he told me that they had made Ron Cobb the production designer of the film. I went, Ron Cobb? He's a political cartoonist. I go, man, and a great political cartoonist, but I thought, I would love to see what he would do with Conan. That's such an odd choice. But I was so busy, I just didn't have time to take a break and go visit the Conan production offices and see what was being done. Finally, I did get a little break in my schedule, but instead of going to the Conan offices, I went to the ABA, which was the American Booksellers Association annual fair, usually alternated between New York and LA. And at that fair, it's every publisher in the United States and every editor. So for an illustrator, it's a great way to pick up work. You bring your portfolio and you just go booth to booth to booth to booth, show your work, and you pick up tons of jobs. So that was my goal and intention of going to the ABA. And the first person I bumped into at the ABA was Ron Cobb. And Ron said, Bill, I really want you to work on this motion picture, but I have a deal with the director, John Milius. He has veto power over anybody I want to hire for the art department. And he says, I also have veto power on anybody John wants to bring in. So, but he said, would you mind dropping off your portfolio so that John can see your work and hopefully get his okay on working on the film? So I said, yeah, sure, that sounds like it might be fun. So I went in the next day, and John happened to be there. And so he looked at the work in front of me, and he remembered a heavy metal story I'd done that he really liked. And quickly went through the rest of the pictures, handed me back the book. And if you've ever seen Milius on film, he's a bigger-than-life kind of guy. And he started to walk out the room. He's a big bear of a guy. And just over his shoulder, he said, hire him. So I walked into Buzz Speichen's office. Buzz was the line producer for Conan. And he told me what I would be making on Conan. Initially, I was hired to be the storyboard artist for the film. And I nearly fell off the chair laughing because it was about 10% of what I was making in advertising. But I thought, well, it's only for 2 weeks. I can spare 2 weeks. It'll be fun to find out how movies are made. Be interesting. And the 2 weeks turned into 2 years, and then turned into a film career.